Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your back garden. Like a dumb Klitschko, I'll beat you, you bum. You're a bum.
I want to unify. Is he up for the challenge? Like I said, I declare war. You know, this is not a battle, this is war because I was born in this.
Why am I sitting there like a spare dick away? While you are sitting in your mum's spare rooms, just tickling your bollocks.
Come and see me, baby. No more dodging, no more dodging, no more excuses. Let's make the fight happen. Let's see who's the best. I know I'm the best. Are you up for the test?
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview. What are you talking about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Negative. I'm good. I beat Polly. I left with his belt and his girl.
Fucking was too fast. But it wasn't so much about it, was just that he was so fucking fast. Fast.
Amazingly fast.
Fucking amazingly fast. I was like, I thought Freddie was in there fucking hitting me too. So
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? It's Matt the Hipster Hunter here, solo dolo. No Rob, no Fugatti. They're off busy with lives and families and shit that's important, I guess. I mean, whatever. Losers. But digressing, we're going to talk about a lot of boxing today. Some big topics. Obviously, the DAZN numbers coming out. I'll be honest, kind of shocked that we got numbers. And some specific numbers, both in U.S. viewership, worldwide viewership for Canelo Jacobs, plus some additional context, both for overall revenue generated for the event, and some comparison to how DAZN is doing overall in other markets like Italy, where they're a massive success right now. But digressing, plus we have Spence Porter, now official for a PBC on Fox. Yes, Fox, not pay-per-view and not Showtime. I'm going to address that later on the show as well when it comes to the whole Showtime thing and the criticism about that. But digressing, tons of important topics to get to or to sort of separate, parse out, and overall, I would say dissect. Plus call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. International callers, Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. But of course, let's get right into it because, like I said, these two topics, plus we have some other ones we're going to get into as well. But these two topics were far and away, I would say, pretty big. Not only, like I say, do we get numbers about about DAZN, we get a really great fight for PBC on free TV. And I was talking to Rob about this off air, even though he couldn't be on, and I was like, is Spence Porter the best fight PBC has put on free basic cable since Thurman Garcia back in 2016? And I think that's probably true, but of course, we'd love everyone's opinion, but let's get into it. I think officially the first one to report the news was Lance Pugmire over at the LA Times, saying DAZN reports 1.2 million viewers for Canelo Alvarez-Daniel Jacobs fight worldwide. Some more overall context and numbers for the event. It produced a peak U.S. audience of 600,000 subscribers, according to two industry sources not authorized to discuss such details publicly. The fight also was available to stream via DAZN in Austria, Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, Spain, and Switzerland. So that's where the rest of the 400,000 viewers live go towards. On top of that, it seems like the event broke even, or at least did a little bit above breaking even. Here at the very bottom, no, we do not. LA Times want to pay for you. Get out of here. Saying DAZN's revenue for Alvarez Jacobs bout was estimated to be near $50 million, according to industry sources, which exceeded the $48 million in purse money owed to Alvarez and Jacobs. So again, it seems like they did quite well for this event. And when we've been concerned about them operating at a loss, it seemed like they were able to, at least monetarily speaking, function with this event and not operate at a loss. That's a big accomplishment within a year to be able to do that with this sort of event, with this amount of payout for just 2 people. On top of that, I think the 600,000 viewer figure for U.S. subscribers live for the event is fantastic. I already see the criticisms of that on boxing Twitter, but look, people are going to have their criticisms of whatever party or conglomerate they don't align with, whether as fans or monetarily speaking align with. And I think, objectively speaking, and I'll connect this again with Spence Porter and the criticism on Showtime, or at least of it not being on Showtime, that objectively speaking, this is great news. Like, DAZN had a successful big event. I would say that this number for live subscribers in the U.S. exceeded my expectations. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I specified what I was thinking on the air, but I think I was thinking more around the 300,000 to 400,000 mark would be respectable for U.S. subscribers if they were able to get that for this weekend. And it looks like they exceeded my expectations. So I can't help but applaud what DAZN was able to do here. And on top of that, it looks like, I forget the exact stats. It's not in this article. Rob, if you can, I see you in the chat. Rob, can you send me the link to where you got that Italy statistic for DAZN Italy? Because I don't think I saw it in... Oh, no, it's in the Forbes article. Never mind. I'll get to that later. But yeah, great numbers. Overall, everyone in the chat seems to be saying that it's a good number. Mr. David says 600K is not bad for first major event. Gary, though, I sense a tinge of sarcasm with his chat saying, holy moly, for real, DAZN is the future. Oh, yeah, you're right, Rob. Okay, I'll get the soundbite for DAZN. Hey, you guys did it. Successful event, guys. Way to go. Can't help but applaud this. And plus, like I said, I think DAZN is overall a pretty good app, a pretty good service. Yes, it's extremely above market value for streaming apps overall in this sports entertainment industry. It just is. Even with the $100 year subscription, that is still above market value when you actually divide it up compared to Netflix, Disney+, ESPN+, other market competitors in the streaming era. Because, again, to compare it to even Showtime, Sky Sports, these other sort of subscription fees for either TV channels or pay-per-views, it's not truly a one-to-one analog, I think, for consumers. Consumers will, I think, always compare it to, well, I have other apps for streaming, for entertainment, and for my leisure time, and they're a lot cheaper, and they have a lot more content. And I think DAZN's going to have to deal with that at some point. But, however, it looks like they were successful in this event. And, again, them breaking even on the payout for the purses was a shock to me. The fact that information was in there was really, really surprising. Adding to that, hold on, where is it? There it is. Erica Montoya, a Mexican journalist, reported that Azteca TV in Mexico did a 18.4 million viewership in Mexico, obviously, and that's a great figure. So again, the event was a massive success. DAZN gets a piece of all of those 18.4 million viewers in Mexico too, because they have the rights of the fight, even with other TV distribution rights internationally. So just great stuff. And I want to highlight this article. It's in the description. So if you want to read this article, you can. It's right there in the description. You can go click on it at any time. But don't do it right now because you have to listen to me. But this Forbes article for basically the lead title, DAZN versus ESPN, loaded with A-list athletes, Canelo, Ronaldo, LeBron. The billionaire back streaming site wants to be the worldwide leader in sports. And there's a figure in here that I want to talk about because I've said this numerous times. To we have to almost separate DAZN success from boxing. On top of that, boxing success from DAZN, Matchroom success from DAZN. We have to separate them out because I think they are isolated sort of paths and trajectories. Yes, they have a combined path right now, but that could change, in a couple years, and the paradigm could shift instantly, just like it did in the last year. But one of the stats here that I want to read says, here, DAZN believes it can handle up to 10 million concurrent streams. It hasn't had an event to test that many, but did have more than 1 million for the Joshua fight in September, which is quite interesting because that. Where's that soundbite? Forbes is saying that the Joshua Povetkin fight did over 1 million concurrent streams. That's brand new information compared to the 10,000 viewership number we saw originally. But again, maybe that whole million came from other markets, not in the U.S. We still don't know. However, moving on, as an event to test Joshua fight in September, there were recently 800,000 concurrent live streams in Italy without any significant issue for a Serie A soccer match, which represented 24% of the Italian broadband infrastructure at the time. That is insane. And for those that maybe didn't understand what that means, DAZN for one football match in Italy, I assume it's probably a Ronaldo match because isn't he playing in Italy right now? Again, completely illiterate when it comes to football information, but that digressing from that. That event accounted for 24% of all internet usage at that moment for that allotted time, the 2-hour time window, whatever it is for a football match. And that is insane. And again, to sort of connect it to my point about DAZN success not tied with boxing, not tied to the U.S. market at all, they are killing it in other markets. Japan is one, Germany is one, Italy is now becoming an extreme market for them probably because they have been able to acquire massive, massive property rights, intellectual property rights, TV rights, whatever, sporting rights in those countries compared to the U.S. So DAZN's doing great jobs overall, and plus the 1 million for Joshua Povetkin, DAZN worldwide, that's quite impressive. Yes, everyone agreeing that Ronaldo plays for. Not going to try to pronounce it, guys. Sorry. I know the second someone says that, I'm like, yep, that's it, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Moving on, yes, go read that article. It's a fantastic piece. It's a long-form article, but it's a really good, I would say, detailed journalistic piece about this subject that I have been talking about for a long time. DAZN versus ESPN and that battle that we are now seeing transpire in the U.S. market. But digressing from that, let's move on to the next piece of news. If I can find it, where is it at? Where are we at here? Here we go. Sources from Mike Coppinger. The welterweight unification championship fight between Earl Spence Jr. and Sean Porter is likely to take place August 3rd at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The 147-pound title fight is expected to headline a PBC on Fox card. Yes. Thank you. Oh. It's not pay-per-view, guys. It's not pay-per-view. They're listening. And before I talk about the fight itself, I want to connect it to the criticism that both Canelo, Jacobs, and the viewership numbers are getting from a certain part of the fandom. And on top of that, the certain criticism that this fight is getting, and on top of it, like Showtime not getting, and that specific criticism. Look, boxing fans, I know we have some people out there, maybe some co-hosts out there that had this thought. These two pieces of news, the Canelo numbers and the Spence Porter news, are objectively great news for boxing fans. As consumers, as fans, it shows that, A, the DAZN experiment is working, and the DAZN experiment has given us a lot of good fights thus far. And the slate of their schedule in the next 3 or 4 months is fantastic. So that's good. That's a really good sign. We should all be happy about that. Because, again, it is cheaper to the old model. It is. It is cheaper than the old model. Canelo, Jacobs would be pay-per-view on HBO or Fox or Showtime or any other place. DAZN, it's not. So that's great. We have to applaud that. That is being successful. That means DAZN will push that more than they already have been, and they have been pushing it a lot. And again, Spence Porter, it being on Fox is objectively a great thing for the consumers and the fans. It's a great unification fight between two great fighters on free basic cable. You have a TV in America, you get Fox. Okay? Like that's how simple it is. So the fact that this level of fight is not going to be hidden behind not only pay-per-view, but a premium channel is great news for the consumers and the fans. So I really hope that we as fans of the sport can put aside our very petty, even though everyone listening knows I love pettiness, so I'm being hypocritical right now. But put aside the pettiness for once. This is great news. It is. Spence Porter on Fox, great news. Canelo, Jacobs doing great numbers on DAZN, great news. I don't know how we can truly criticize either news stories in any substantial way. Can't see it. I just think it's nitpicking. And on top of that, it's ignorant of the actual material real world effects of these things. So digressing, great news for Spence Porter on Fox. And also, I can't wait to see this fight. I've been beating the drum that I want this fight for some time. I know that Spence is probably the easy favorite. I feel like everyone's going to be picking Spence. You might have a few people out there picking Porter, but that's going to be a very small minority of people. And I don't think they're going to be a vocal minority in this equation, really, because it's Porter fans. They're not loud at all. I don't think he even has that many. But the fight itself on paper, to me, only equals a fight of the year contender. I don't see how this fight transpires for 12 rounds and we don't get electrifying action. I just don't see it. So I'm all in favor for it. Congrats. And congrats to us for it being free. So DAZN, PBC, everyone's listening. It seems everyone's trying to up their game. Awesome. I like that because I think they all sort of realized that this last quarter and the last quarter before that was a little bit iffy in spots, and they could definitely step up, like I said, their game. But moving on, turns out, guys, Rob was right for once in his life, and I was wrong. I know, shocking. Alexander Usyk, his fight being postponed. Eddie Hearns has said that Carlos Taka and Michael Hunter from May 25th is probably going to move to Las Vegas, and it's going to be headlined by Devin Haney. So while Rob is technically right, I'm also slightly right. Devin Haney is now the main event. That is not really surprising. I am a little bit iffy on the Takam Hunter fight. I don't know if I needed it. I understand it. I get both of those fighters, or especially Takam, because Hunter already had a fight. Takam saying look, I already been training. I want a paycheck. I've been paying my trainers out of pocket. I've been paying my manager out of pocket. I need a paycheck. I need to work and make money. So I get it. But as a fan, I really did like the Usyk Takam fight, and I feel like we're not going to get that guy. Hunter's probably going to win. Around an easy 12-round decision? Not easy, but he should win a 12-round decision. Robert, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. All you do in that chat in the comment section is say weird things and try to hate on me. What are you talking about? DAZN's valued at $3 billion. I need to do my research. When did I say they're not a $1 billion company? Fuck out of here, weirdo. God. But anyways, Devin Haney main eventing and then moving into Vegas. I think it's a risky move for them to move event on 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks notice, 2.5 weeks notice. However, it makes sense. Devin Haney is. I don't know if he's from Las Vegas, but he lives in Las Vegas. He's going to sell better there. You can downsize the event to like the Hard Rock Casino, which is like a 3,000 seater, and Haney could sell that out in 2 weeks. He can. It's just more work as a company to move an entire event on a couple weeks' notice is work. But then again, I think Rob alluded to it in the last show. Like the event wasn't selling well, so maybe it's not that much work overall, and they're actually probably going to, in a sense, make not more money in this fight, but like you're not going to pay Usyk that big paycheck. Haney is now the main event. So you're going to Vegas, probably going to sell that out. Hopefully you don't do a lot of comps, and they do all right. I think it's a high risk move, but I think it's a high reward move as well to change this up, have Takam Hunter be sort of a co-main event, Devin Haney be the main event, and move it to Vegas, which is Haney's hometown right now, and have him be the draw. I think it's something that they wanted to do. Leonard saying Haney from Oakland lives in Vegas. Thank you. I knew he wasn't from Vegas, but I obviously know he lives in Vegas. But Oakland's not a fight town, neither is San Francisco, so good for him. I think, without a doubt, again, this is the smart move. It's just a risky one, but I think it's the smart move overall. Moving on. Again, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Since I have no Rob, no Fu here, I'm going to run through these topics probably and want to debate one of you guys. So bring the heat, Gary. Gary, are you on the line? Let me see. Yes, Gary's on the line. Santiago, you didn't press 1, so Gary jumped in front of you. So you better press 1. Daniel Roman versus... you know what? Akhmadiliev. Sure. Ordered by the WBA. I feel like I've heard this guy before. I can't remember him, to be honest. And to be doubly honest, I think Daniel Roman should not go fight Ray Vargas right now. I think that would be potentially career damaging to go back-to-back tough fights like that. Because not only was the TJ Doheny fight of the year, and he really struggled in that fight at times, Ray Vargas is probably the bigger, taller guy of the two. And the things that Doheny did well, I think Vargas will be able to do well as well and to do more throughout the fight. And I feel like Roman needs to take a tune-up, get back into the swing of things and not, sort of damage his body too much. Because, again, that fight was tough. And a Ray Vargas fight would be extremely tough. Take on some perfect. Leonard, thank you, saying Matt, his nickname is MJ. Perfect. See, nicknames are great for Eastern European fighters. I got to say that. Like Gennady, perfect for him. Loma, we call him just Loma now. Think about it. I guess I'm all in favor of Roman taking this sort of easy, in a sense, tune-up fight against a mandatory. I'm all in favor of that. He just went life and death with TJ Doheny, and one of the better fights I've seen in some time. So, all in favor. Also, keeping it on sort of the lighter weight classes, Roman Gonzalez, and also the Superfly card in a sense, even though it really wasn't a Superfly card. Roman Gonzalez is open to a Ron Francisco Estrada rematch, and I gotta say, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I need to see more from Roman Gonzalez for me to think that he can fight Estrada, Rungs VI. I would be much more in favor of like a Gonzalez-Quadras fight, but I think Quadras moved up, than a Gonzalez-Estrada rematch. I think Estrada's just too much for him at this point in time. Like, both of them have just passed each other in terms of career relevance, and it would be a really tough, dangerous fight for Roman Gonzalez in a way that I just, as a fan of him, maybe really don't want to see. Leonard saying MJ's not a tune-up. He's one of those Uzbek signed to Hearn Matchroom. Yeah, but he's untested. Leonard, I think you get my point. Like, he's a guy that isn't a champion. He isn't truly, I would say, probably a top 5, top 10 competitor in the division. But he's a great amateur, probably, and he, an undefeated prospect signed to someone with some good promoting backing, like Hearn Matchroom. So I'm all in favor of that. It just makes sense. Robert, you're gone, bro. Like, you said that same lazy fucking shit in the comment section, and I've been to a lot of places. I've literally been to the UK 3 times, so to act like I need to get out of LA is just ignorant. I've lived in other places before, you fucking idiot. Fuck out of here. Anyways, moving on. Made no charge, Trevor Bryan, and news of the day of Who Gives a Fuck is now set down for a first bid on May 17th. Again, could care two shits about this, but it's news, I guess, so I feel like I have to talk about it, at least mention it. Artabetebeev and Hot Rod didn't really do that well. Did around 480,000 viewers live for their ESPN telecast, which happened concurrently, going head to head with the DAZN Canelo Jacobs card. But I mean, again, Beterbiev got paid $150,000 guaranteed, almost $1 million guaranteed for a kind of crappy ESPN card that no one really saw. UFC fighters, sign that Project Spearhead card. Come on, guys, what are you doing? But let's go to callers, because I feel like debating something. I don't know what, but Gary's going to have something to debate with, probably. Gary in Dallas.
I'm a great guy to debate with. I don't know that we're going to have much to debate this time because I pretty much agree with everything he said. This is great news. You know, I know there are a lot of people who hate on Eddie, who hate on Matchroom, who hate on DAZN.
You.
I hate on Eddie. I don't hate on the other platforms. I don't hate on DAZN. I think DAZN's great
That's
for
true.
boxing.
That's true.
More boxing.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You don't like Eddie.
Yeah, I don't like Eddie. Eddie, you know, promoters are filthy, slimy scumbags by nature, and Eddie is best in breed, I guess. Yeah, no, those numbers are great. Those are great numbers. You know, if this fight was on pay-per-view, HBO pay-per-view, what do you think? About 1 million buys?
No.
Give or take?
Well, I mean, here's the
No, you
thing.
don't think?
It did
If
600.
Canelo's
It did
Jacobs
600,000 views or subscriptions on DAZN. That's a big number. That's shocking.
Yeah.
It might have
Huge,
done.
yeah.
It might have done a really good pay-per-view buy rate, more than I thought. It might have. Then again, it would have been a higher price point. It would have been a higher price point, but the access point is far wider. So it's possible. Like if this was on pay-per-view, could have done 1 million. I think it's absolutely possible now with the numbers we have.
Sure. Okay, that's my guess was because Canelo. I mean, Canelo just sells it. And I had my cousin. He lives in New York, and he called me, texted me the day of the fight, saying, "How do I download this fight? How do I get?" You know, he probably watches 10 fights a year. He wanted to watch this fight, and he had to ask me, and I had to walk him through because he's 38. You know, he's not a millennial or your age, so I had to walk him through how to download the app.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is like there may have been a lot more people who wanted to watch the fight, but then couldn't figure out how to get it. Yeah, because this is really their first big mega event. So the fight was big. I mean, everything is encouraging. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that the zone is widespread enough that everyone, sports fans, not boxing fans, sports fans that would tune to a Canelo fight know what the zone is yet.
No, they don't. They don't. They knew a Canelo fight was on. They didn't know where it was on, how it was on. They just knew it was on.
Right. And apparently in New York, where Jacobs is from, they really, really, really promoted that. Like, that was all over the place. So they did a good job promoting it. I just don't think people – I think old people just assumed that it was on pay-per-view, like every Canelo fight in the past. And then they were like, well, how do I watch this thing? And I wanted to comment on that, right? Because my cousin I'm telling you about, he's kind of the typical casual fan, right? Like, if you want to win boxing fans, you got to win this guy over. And he was saying it was terrible. The service was terrible, and that it was buffering for him while Jacobs was doing his ring walk. That's a bad job, right? And Brian Kenny and Sergio Mora, not a fan. They said that's no good. You got to get Andre Ward or something like that. There's somebody recognizable. Nobody knows who Sergio Mora is, and nobody likes Brian Kenny. So they have to get a better team. And I think those are I think those are fair, right? Like, did you have any buffering problems with the Jacobs fight?
No, but I've said this in the past. My desktop, look, I have 300 megabytes upload and download internet speed. I have fantastic internet, way above the market standard, right? I get buffering issues if I'm on DAZN.com on my computer and I'm watching stuff. I do. If I'm watching it via my PlayStation, I have it via the app, right, on that. Never any issues at all. Zero. So
Okay.
I don't know what their problems are with that, but and then again, I don't know what your was it cousin, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what your cousin's internet was like. That's an important thing.
That matters. That totally.
Yeah, if he has
that
anything,
totally
if
matters,
he has anything above 10 megabytes per second upload or download, it should be fine. If it's anything below that, it's an issue. So ask him that when you get the chance. But if it's not that, then I would tell him try it on a different device. If you have an Apple TV or like a Roku stick, a smart TV, try it that way. If he has a PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, one of those things, try it that way. Because I found that for some reason the actual app is better than their website. I don't know if that's the issue. Again, try it that way. But DAZN is going to have those issues. I remember Netflix having those issues for a long period of time as well. It just like they just need more servers. Like I think that's purely what the issue is. They need more technical infrastructure as a company probably to service what they need. Like 10 million concurrent live streamers isn't really that much, in my opinion. I might be wrong about that. I might be wrong about that. But I would probably assume that YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, other sort of streaming video services can do far bigger than that. And that might be an issue. That might be something they need to look at to fix. Because when we're watching something, God knows if that's eating up server room and bandwidth for their Italian part of their company and those shows over there. I don't know if those affect each other.
Italian card yet, had you?
No, I'm talking about like if DAZN US's streaming numbers go up, does that affect DAZN Italy's DAZN numbers and their buffering rates and stuff like that?
Okay.
Because their infrastructure might be completely different and off a different grid than ours. I don't know how that works out for them. Those would be something that I need. Those are information that I need to know to have a better assessment of DAZN and what the issue is with buffering, because it does seem to be an issue widespread. I just don't know what the root of it is, because I don't personally have it when it comes to certain devices.
Okay. And then the criticisms of their actual presentation.
Oh, that's all accurate. That's all accurate.
That's pretty fair, right?
Yes. No, it is.
Especially that, yeah. Because again, he's a casual. He texted me back like in the middle of the fight. He's like, "Is it just me, or is this fight closer than the commentators are telling us it is?" I'm like, "No, it's pretty close." Yeah, I think.
And it's not even that. It's not even that, Gary. It's not even that. Like I remember, it was the weigh-in for Canelo Jacobs, right? Their YouTube stream completely fucked up. I mean, bad. Where I had to go to DAZN.com and watch it there, and it was slightly better. Things like that are issues. I remember, I think it was, I forget exactly what it was. I want to say it was a press conference. I want to say it was like the Joshua Miller press conference, like in New York, and like Ak and Barack were doing the like pre-press conference, like talking head shit, right?
Yeah.
And the feed was messed up bad, both on DAZN and on their YouTube feed. And like certain technical stuff like that is a little bit amateurish. And for a multi-billion-dollar company, you expect more. When you're paying $20 a month for some people, you expect better production quality overall, let alone the names they have, the announcers they have, and their quality on the mic. That's a separate issue.
Right.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
both are issues for sure. I wanted to the second issue, their actual production on the mic, how they actually
Yeah, it's awful.
cover and present the fight. It's awful, right? I mean,
And look,
okay.
I have nothing but respect for Akim Barak or even Sergio Mora, Brian Kenny. Like, these are all names that have done a decent job in the media sphere, right? And are obviously way above my pay grade. So I know if they ever heard this, they'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? Even Akim Barak, who I know. But there's just a level of soullessness that the broadcast has, a level of corniness that the broadcast has, that it's hard for me to like it. It's hard for me to really get engaged with what they're saying in any way.
I always liked Brian Kenny because I don't even know you may not have even been born yet, but the original ESPN Friday Night Fight was Max Kellerman and Brian Kenny in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And like it brings me back to my childhood. But I guess they were annoying then, and if you haven't gotten used to him, he's still annoying today. You know what I'm saying? Like I associate watching boxing on Friday nights with Brian Kenny. So I guess I'm just used to him, kind of, so to speak. If you're not used to him, he does kind of suck. Like there's something to that. Like
yeah, his voice. If you don't like his voice, it's irritating. And I don't. But then again, I would say Brian Kenny he knows boxing, right? Like it's not like he doesn't know boxing. But you have like Chris Myers on the PBC Fox telecast. He's awful. He is the worst thing ever in boxing.
Which is amazing, right? Like Fox put so much money into boxing. Why would they? I guess it's not even going cheap, but why wouldn't they? I guess you don't get Chris Myers for cheap, even if he sucks at boxing. But why wouldn't they get a professional to do it? Like, I don't understand. Get someone who knows the sport. You could have got Jim Lampley. Jim Lampley doesn't have a job, and I'm not advocating for Jim Lampley, but he's better than Chris Myers. Why didn't you go get Jim Lampley? He doesn't have a job. You know,
or
Chris Myers. I know people.
Literally anyone could be better. Like that's why I say Brian Kenny. Like he is leaps and bounds, levels above Chris Myers.
Right, but I'm saying you're Fox. You put all this money in it. Jim Lampley, love him or hate him, is regarded as the best. Everyone knows him.
Yes.
He doesn't have a job. Why wouldn't they go get him?
You know what? I've when I interviewed Roy Jones like in December, you know, he alluded to something, and he played coy about it, but it was announcing. Like it was like, it seems to me like some of them still have like part of their contract still in place, if that makes sense. Like yeah, HBO Boxing's dead, but their contracts aren't up. And I don't know how accurate that is. That is speculation on my part from what I am inferring from an interview 4 months ago from a very coy Roy Jones. But it seems to me, and even Jim Lampley's comments about it post that, demise of HBO Boxing were kind of in line with my theory that their contracts are longer and it's just a waiting period. So maybe next year, Jim, Roy Jones can go off and do other things. Max, to me, had a different contract. That's why he was able to already do First Take and do certain things while already on HBO. He had a different contract.
Right, and if ESPN wanted him for boxing, I'm sure ESPN could have agreed to buy him out of his HBO deal if they wanted to. Right? I mean, ABC would have that money to do that if they wanted to. Right, even if Max had the same contract, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And ESPN really wanted him, they could say, okay, here, you take this money, and that'll fulfill his contract.
But remember, there was a period of time that Max was on First Take but could not do any of their boxing coverage.
Boxing, which sucked, yeah. Because then you have Stephen A. Smith yapping about boxing, which is almost nothing's as bad as Chris Myers. But Stephen A. Smith is approaching that. He's like the ultimate casual. Like, he just doesn't know anything, right? And he looks like an idiot when it, like, I'm a basketball fan, right? But I don't know basketball nearly as well as I know boxing. If you put me on the NBA network, I'm going to look stupid, right? I just don't know the ins and outs of everything that the people who cover it full time for a living know. That's how I feel like Stephen A. Smith is. Like, he probably watches boxing to a degree, but he doesn't have a grasp of the sport.
Well, yeah, it's like me talking about baseball or like American football. Like, yeah, I know the sport, but like I don't know the players on individual teams. I don't know who's coaching. I don't know the current popular types of plays, the types of offensive formations. I don't know any of that information right now. I did at one point. I don't know it now. So like me trying to go to ESPN talking about football or basketball or baseball in any in-depth take, any in-depth discussion, I'd be far out of my depth. I know boxing, I know MMA, I know combat sports. Like that's what I know ins and out. And Stephen A., he knows basketball, he knows football. I think he knows those two sports really well. He knows baseball, I would say.
No, he knows basketball. He knows basketball great. He's one of the better voices when it comes to basketball.
Absolutely agree.
And for opinion.
And I would say football, he's very well versed in as well. Baseball a little bit less, but still well versed. Boxing though, you see the automatic dip in ability to hold the conversation with him, and he reverts back to just being loud, which is fine. It's entertaining for a level of for a little bit of a degree, but I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what you're talking about, just speak loud. That's an argument for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can get you elected president. You don't know what you're talking about. Just sell it like you do, right? Just talk really loud, and maybe people will believe you, which is kind of what Stephen A. Smith does when it comes to boxing, for sure. Then the other fight. Did they give a location? Is it Vegas for the Spence Porter fight?
No, Barclays.
Oh, it's the Barclays.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Because then they can really hype it. They can go on the Breakfast Club. They can do the whole New York thing. They can go on ESPN. I don't know if ESPN would have them on, but maybe they would. That's good. I like that better. So that's what I wanted to ask you. What fight do you think is more competitive? Spence versus Porter or Loma versus Campbell?
Spence Porter.
You think Porter's more competitive than Campbell?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But then again, I would say that the divide at the top of the welterweight division is far less than the divide at the top at the lightweight division. You know what I'm saying? Like there's Loma, and then there's a vast gulf of talent, of nothingness, and then you have Campbell, Comey, and then below that you have another gulf of talent, and then you have maybe add Pedraza in that mix too. Then you have a gulf of talent, then you can get like Haney and like Tifima Lopez and prospects that are untested.
Drop, yeah.
You know, like welterweight, that top 5 is all tested. Top 6 are all tested, all battle tested at the very top, at the elite level. All have proven to be elite at times. It's just a different ball game there, in my opinion.
And again, I like watching Porter. We talked about this. I actually like his roughhouse style. I enjoy watching him fight. It's like it's different. It's a bull in a china shop. I don't see. He loses this fight inside and outside to Spence. I don't. I think Spence stops him. You know, I don't see how Porter, who I think gives anyone a good scrap, I don't see how he really gives Spence an interesting fight. I mean, he may have moments and may land some on the inside, but he's going to get outboxed on the inside and on the outside. So I think he's going to get blown away.
Blown away, really?
It's stylistically. I think he does better against Thurman. I thought that fight with Thurman was very close. I think he does better against Crawford. I think he does better against Pacquiao. I just think stylistically, if he's going to try to rough up Errol Spence, who's probably bigger and stronger than he is, he's going to lose.
Counterpoint.
If he tries to outbox Spence, we'll see.
Counterpoint. We saw and again, ineffective because Spence was able to be on the back foot and box well, but we did see Mikey make Spence be defensive, be on the back foot, and box that way. Mikey. Garcia. You don't think Porter, a actual natural welterweight, who's a big guy, stronger, faster than Mike Garcia, is going to be more effective with that aggression, and Spence is going to have to be on the back foot and have to show us his levels? You get what I'm saying? Like, if Mikey was able to make Spence go backwards, what's Sean Porter going to do?
No, well, yeah, I mean,
and again, I'm picking Spence to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm picking Spence to win. I think he's going to show us levels again. But Porter's going to put him on at times. Like, Porter's going to hit him at times. Porter's going to rough him up at times. Absolutely. Because Mikey was able to make him uncomfortable, make Spence have to get out of character. So if Mikey can do that, who's a natural lightweight, I think Porter's going to have some success. Maybe not win, obviously, but success. Yes.
Yeah. I think he'll have a level of success. Like I think Spence stops him, and I think he beats him up in the process. But sure, does Porter clip him as well? Yeah. I think again, the way Porter fights, he's an animal. He's gonna be rough for anyone, right? When Errol Spence said to Terrence Crawford, "Why wouldn't I take the easy route and fight Sean Porter?" I'm like, okay, it's easier than Crawford probably, but there's nothing easy about fighting Sean Porter, right? Like, you fight Sean Porter, you're going to be in a fight. Like, you're going to be in a scrap. You're going to know it. So, I don't know. I think Sean Porter is evolving as a fighter. Like, I think he jabs better than he used to and things. But I think maybe his best days are behind him. Like, he's not the athlete. He's not as sharp as he used to be.
Probably.
But he's growing in other areas to kind of fill that gap. But I don't he's not a good enough boxer to sit and box with Errol Spence, even if he's a better boxer than he was 3-4 years ago.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
By the way, Sean Porter's 31 years old. I was curious about that.
He's 31, but he's been a guy that fights like that, right? He's not going to have a long career. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I wouldn't think. That guy is, he's not a safety-first technician like Floyd, right? He's not Pernell Whitaker. Right? That guy goes into a
On
fight.
top of that, a thing that we really haven't talked about enough, I think, is his hand issues. He's broken his hand multiple times now in recent fights. In the Adrian Granado's fight, he broke his hand. And in the Adonis Ugas fight, he broke his hand. That's an issue.
Yeah, the Ugas fight was just a month ago or so, right? Is that hand even healed yet?
I think it was like a small. It may not have been a full break. I think it was like a small fracture, to be honest. But he did have an injury,
which is worse because then you can't have surgery on it, so you just have to let it heal.
Yeah, but the healing time
and tears in your hands.
But the healing time's like a month. Like it's not like it's a long.
It could be a month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's long.
Yeah, that's true.
You just can't have surgery for it.
Right. Right. The recovery time could be a month or two. Where if you actually broke something, they could sew it up the next day. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if that's not really relevant, right?
And plus, I'll put it this way. I've broken my hand twice, and I had surgery the second time. The first time they didn't have surgery on it. They just reset it, and they put in a cast, and I had to wait like the 6 months, and they did that route, right? Surgery is a lot easier. It is. It's a pain in the ass.
Right. That's what I was trying
to say.
But
it does make the recovery process a lot easier and a lot faster if it is a break. I've never fractured my hand though, so I wouldn't know exactly about that.
And your hand also has if you look at the skeleton, like half of your bones, right? They're all little tiny bones in your hand. So
in your feet.
It depends what bones and everything you broke too. No, that's really it, right? There was no other news, really? It was just those two big things?
Some minor fight announcements. That's about it, yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, thanks, Gary.
All right.
Let's go out to Santiago in L.A. Santiago, what up?
Not much. What's up with you, man? Interesting to see what the numbers were for the DAZN card, especially because I don't know if you were aware of it, but they were actually showing the Canelo Jacobs fight in theaters. So I'm curious to see how many people went to go see that didn't have the app.
Same, especially since it was actually more expensive than the app. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, because generally when I've gone to go see a fight in theaters, the cheapest ticket that I'll usually get is about $20, and that's without tax. So, and given the kind of fight that Spence Porter is, had they made this on pay-per-view, I could have easily seen them making this in theaters. And I'd be curious to see if they tried to do it in theaters too, which would have in itself been an amazing experience on the big screen. But that's besides the point. Good numbers. Nice to see that the event did as well as it did for itself. And I'm very excited too now that Spence Porter is going to be on Fox, not on Showtime or Showtime pay-per-view or any of that shit. It takes me back to when they first made Thurman Garcia on Fox. I believe it was Fox, or was it CBS? No, Porter Thurman was CBS.
Yes.
So it's very nice to see them putting this available to us because, like you said, man, and for me personally, right, you could have a big old TV like we did growing up with the antenna and everything. You're bound to have Channel 11, and if you have Channel 11, you basically just guaranteed yourself that you're going to be able to see this fight. You don't need cable. You don't need satellite. Even the cord cutters would be able to watch this for free. So I think it's a great move on their part, and it's going to be some very amazing exposure to see how they promote this fight leading up because, we've already got their interactions in the ring, post-fights and everything. We know that this is going to be a good fight between two top-tier welterweights, and this is definitely the fight that Spence has been seeking, against a legitimate welterweight in Porter, former two-time welterweight champion, IBF, WBC currently. He had a tough fight against Yordenis Ugas. I do think that Spence would probably be the betting favorite entering this. But I do think that because he is naturally the bigger guy, I believe that when he originally started his career, he actually started at about like 168, 160, and came back down to welterweight. He's the guy that knows how to use his size. He's the guy that knows how to bully, and we've seen him add different wrinkles to his game too. So I think it's going to make for a very exciting and interesting fight now that we have the announcements. What are your thoughts on the possibility that maybe Fox follows suit and tries to put this in theaters like DAZN did?
I don't think they do that. I think it makes no sense for them to do that because it's not a paid program. It's not a premium program in a sense. It's free basic cable, so I think they're gonna just put that on Fox. Like that's not a concern for them. That's not thought process at all. And plus, like Spence Porter isn't that fight. Just fundamentally, it's not that fight. Pacquiao Thurman, which is going to be pay-per-view, that will be in theaters. But Spence Porter on Fox, no, that makes no sense.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. And then, I'm not surprised that the ESPN numbers weren't so good either because they were basically fighting the same week, the same night as the Canelo Jacobs fight. And I know that I had that recording, but, like, when the fight did end early, I didn't even bother to go, like, cancel the recording so that it wouldn't, like, go over the hour setting that I had put it over. So it's a shame. It was mostly really, that card was mostly a showcase for, Gabe Flores Jr. because he's a Stockton product. You could see that, like, they made him the co-main event sandwich between the Jarwin and Cajas fight and the Better Beef fight. He was the guy that they were there to basically showcase and everything. So they're definitely promoting him well. And I can't really say much about what he's been doing. He's doing what he's doing as always. But what are your thoughts on the fact that despite the fact that he was a showcase, he was relegated to the co-main event status?
I don't like it. I'll be honest. When you put a champion below a prospect on a telecast, it just makes no sense. Again, I fundamentally don't like when cards are structured that way. Especially if it's a legit champion like Yaron and Cajas is. Like, he should have been the co-main. And the fact that they relegated him to the opening fight instead of Gabriel Flores, it sucks. But I get it because, let's be honest, the second Flores fought, that theater emptied out. Did you see that? That was crazy. How many people were in there for Gabriel Flores and how many people were not there for the main event? That was insane. I forget a fight that was recent like that as well. Maybe you might remember it, Santiago, but that to me was pretty apparent. Like, they should have just made maybe this like ESPN Plus like next gen matchroom style card and have just your prospects on it. And put Gabriel Flores on the top. Make it a very small card that's cheap, and have Better Beeve and Ancaja stayed for a different event and beef up a different card. But anyways, back to you, Santiago, and any of your thoughts about what I said, or back to what your thoughts are.
No, I agree with you completely. Obviously, I saw what you saw. Again, the Stockton guy in Stockton, really, he was the main event, and it's amazing because basically, we've seen our fair share of after the main event fights. So it's the damnedest thing when you can really say that a light heavyweight championship fight was the after fight, really. Definitely, they should have. If they really wanted to be bigging up Gabe Flores, they should have just done a small card with him as the main event. It wouldn't have hurt him. He would have kept busy. It would have done some respectable numbers, and those two could have been, double heading another event either for themselves or for another card. So it's definitely a weird thing to see. Obviously, they have a lot of things riding on this kid, but the way they're doing it is just really weird, and that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Those are the main two talking points that I wanted to get your takes on. So if you have any questions regarding any topics that I didn't talk about, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, that's my call.
Quick question, Santiago, because I know you're a hardcore, and plus, I mean, we've been to Chocolatito fights together, so I know you care about Roman Gonzalez like me as a fan of him. Are you interested at all in a Estrada rematch? Does that pique your interest?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
No. To be honest with you, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one too. That I think the Quadras fight would probably be a little bit better because there's an argument. I mean, we went to that fight too. I mean, not together, but you and JP and then me separately. We were there for the first Gonzalez Quadras fight. That shit was insane. There's an argument that could be made that Quadras won that fight.
And on top of it,
I think
just from a ticket selling perspective, that fight was a draw at the Forum. Rungsvia Estrada was not. Quadras Roman Gonzalez was packed at the Forum. They probably did 10,000 tickets there. They probably doubled the ticket sales from what Estrada Rungsvia 2 did. So to me, Gonzalez Quadras makes sense. They're both at the same level career wise, and they can both still sell tickets in an LA market.
Yeah, for sure. I still remember how that atmosphere was, man, beating and everything. You could feel the vibrations from the crowds and everything. It was like a soccer match. I think you mentioned that you actually saw a freaking brawl break out in between the actual fight itself and everything. So if they really wanted to make the rematch for Gonzalez, for me, the fight that makes sense is with Quadras. That was a very exciting fight. You're going to get a very passionate fan. You're going to have a lot of people from Quadras' side who feel that he won the first fight, want him to get his revenge against the guy who they probably think at this point is on the way down after his fight with Rungvisai. So definitely, I think that fight makes a lot of sense. Do it in the LA market, your StubHub or the Forum, and you're going to have yourself an electrifying night that night.
Agreed. Thank you, Santiago, for calling. Quickly, the chat. Both Ivan and Rubisky bring up two cards of recent note that had that effect, where an undercard fighter was actually the ticket draw, and everyone left by the main event. Ivan bring up Big Ray Miller versus Dinu in Kansas, saying everyone went to see Nico Hernandez. That is right. And Rubisky saying Laura versus Gaucher. The crowd left. One of the Charlos won the card. I think it was Jamel Charlo. I want to say, I think Jamel Charlo was versus Hatley on that card. I could be wrong about that. I'm going off the dome here, but I think it was Charlo versus Hatley, which was a Texas versus Texas fight. I think Hatley was from Austin or Dallas, and obviously I think Charlo from Houston. So there was that sort of beef, and I think that was sort of the draw for that card, ticket-wise. But digressing, guys, that is it for today. But don't worry, be back tonight. Yes, tonight we're going to have a MMA show. I know we haven't done one in some time. I'm going to preview UFC 237. Thug Rose coming back from her little sabbatical, fighting Jessica Andrade, and that should be a firefight in the women's strawweight division. Plus Anderson Silva on the card, Jose Aldo on the card. Top down, great Brazil pay-per-view. Cannot wait to talk about that card with Fugatti. plus breaking down the Don Cerrone win against Ally Quinta last Saturday, and plus some other sort of MMA topics as well. Tomorrow, we're going to do a regular boxing show on Thursday, so 2 p.m. with Rob. Don't worry, we're going to do probably another boxing show. I don't know what the news and what the topics will be, but I'm assuming we're going to do a show tomorrow because Rob will want to do one. Also, tomorrow night, we will do a... no, I was thinking about doing a free one, but we won't. It's going to be Patreon exclusive still. We might put it out later like we did with our other Game of Thrones podcast. We're going to do a Game of Thrones review of episode 4 of season 8. I think what the name was exactly, but it was a good episode. Interesting. Some plot development. I like that. And less plot armor for the characters. Also like that. But digressing, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Oh, also, quick announcement. Sunday. Yes, this Sunday. Anthony Walker and Jason Burgos of Sheridan.com, my colleagues, will join us for an MMA show. Obviously, probably breaking down, reviewing the action on the UFC pay-per-view this weekend. And plus some other grander MMA topics to discuss. And maybe some Avengers spoiler review as well. I don't know if we're going to do a separate show on that or just do it on the same stream and then I'll cut it out later and post it separate. But digressing from that, guys, have a great day, great night, wherever you are. Stay safe out there. Peace.
That's fucking illegal.
Where is this Burger King?
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Stay off the weed.
You piece of shit! I'm gonna fucking kill you! I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you!
That's stupid! Use your common sense.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?